हम सुंदर हमारे यार लखन को जिया लल के
श्याम सुंदर हमारो यार लखन को जिया लल के
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 श्याम सुंदर. If you don't have tolerance, every little thing will disturb you. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Tarorapi sahishnona. A spiritual sadhak should be more tolerant than the tree. Then nothing can disturb you. It is like the king who declared a competition that make a painting that depicts peace. And lots of paintings came on because there were so many awards possible, and 2 were finally selected for the finals. One was idyllic. It was a valley between the mountains with undulating grass and gentle river with a calm sky, etc. And the other was really rough. There was a turbulent waterfall with dark clouds above and lightning between them and even a little bit of rain. But the waterfall was going over a cliff, and behind that was a crevice where a bird had built a nest and it was feeding its chicks. The king said, "This painting depicts peace." People said, "But there's so much turbulence." The king said, "The other painting is unreal. It never happens in the world. This is creditable. With all that is going around, the bird is still peaceful." So Sri Krishna says, can you retain your peace in the turbulence of Bay Area? If you can, you will be very dear to me. And then he says, Sangha Vivarjita, free from unfavorable association. Sang is association. So there's Satasang, that association which takes your mind to Sat or God. And there's Kusang, that association which takes your mind to the world, which makes your mind worldly. So Satasang, you are coming here and sitting, listening to Gita, this is Satasang. It charges up your spiritual consciousness. But if you are not careful, you go home. You switch on the TV, so what is the latest news? 5 minutes of kusang will pull your consciousness back down. That is why he says, those devotees who avoid kusang, unfavorable association. If you need to know the news, you can read it in 2 minutes. That's all you need to know. So, those who avoid the kusang, Arjun, they care for their consciousness and they are dear to me. Next one. Tulya ninda stutir mauni.
Tulya ninda stutir mauni.
Santushto yena kenachit.
Santushto yena kenachit.
Aniketa sthiramatir.
Aniketa sthiramatir.
Bhaktiman me priyo naraha.
Bhaktiman me priyo naraha.
Translation. Those who take praise and reproach alike, who are given to silent contemplation, content with what comes their way, without attachment to place of residence, whose intellect is firmly fixed in me, and who are full of devotion to me, such persons are very dear to me. So he says, Tulya ninda stutir mauni. those who can take praise and criticism alike. You know, in one deaf and dumb, an institution for the challenged, once in India, their warden used to come to my lecture. So he invited me to come and visit and bless the inmates. I went with him in the morning. My lecture used to be in the evening. So in small towns, I used to give lectures. So we were going through various rooms, and in one cell, two of the inmates were quarreling. Both were deaf and dumb. So they were using sign language. And the first inmate was gesticulating with great fury on his face. And the second one had his back to the first one. And he was kind of laughing and having a great time. So I asked the warden that what is going on here. He said, this guy wishes to insult his friend, but his friend refuses to look at him. So in sign language, if the other refuses to look at you, you can't insult them. He's having a hearty time. Likewise, in this world, people can say all kinds of things. But the point is, if you refuse to feel hurt, that is the best thing that you can do. As the saying goes, if there is one line and if you wish to shorten it, the best strategy is to draw a big line instead of trying to erase it. That is what Ratan Tata did. In 1990, he took over as the chairman of Tata Motors. Actually, it was Telco, which he converted to Tata Motors. And at that time, he announced his intention that he wishes to make an indigenously designed motor car in India within a budget of 1 lakh rupees. And finally, in 1998, he made the Nano. So it was priced at 1,25,000 rupees, still the cheapest car in the world. But in 1 year flat, the car was a flop and they realized it was going nowhere. So he put it up for sale. At that time, Ford Motors in USA evinced interest. So Ratan Tata with the Tata board flew to Detroit and they had a meeting with the Ford board. And Bill Ford insulted him openly, saying, you knew nothing about the passenger car industry. Why did you get into it? You know, American style of negotiation. Ratan Tata was quiet. That evening, he did not say anything. Next day, he refused to go for the meeting. He just took his board back to New York and then to Mumbai and applied himself to the motor car industry. And in a few years, they started having world-class model cars. However, in the year 2008, there was a huge recession, particularly in America, and Ford was sinking. So they put up their worst two brands of cars, the Land Rover and the Jaguar, for sale. And Ratan Tata showed interest in purchasing it. So Bill Ford and associates flew to Mumbai. In the meeting, Bill Ford said, we were in deep trouble. Thank you so much for purchasing it from us. Ratan Tata could have said, Acha bachu, teri aisi ki taisi. But he was gracious. And in being gracious, he displayed his saintly qualities. Sri Krishna says, those qualities are very dear to me. Not I've got a block on my chip, come and I'll show you. So, he says further, Mauni, given to silent contemplation. So, going into isolation, all thought leaders, visionaries, thinkers, inventors, They all love to go into isolation. Bill Gates also has his 2-week vacation every year when he gets cut off from all digital media, takes some books and goes into the mountains. Nobody knows where he goes. Those are his think weeks. So anybody who achieved something at the thought platform always went into isolation first. Says those who love to silent contemplation are very dear to me. And then he says, those who are content with what comes their way. Santushto yena kena chit. Desires will have no end. Chakradharopi suratvam suratvalabhe sakala suparpatitvam bhavitum surapati rurdhagatitvam tathapi na nivartate trishna. A king wishes to be the emperor. Emperor wishes to be Chakravarti Samrat, who wishes to be a Devta, who wishes to be Indra, who wishes to be Brahma. So the devotee understands that these desires will have no end. When you first came, when Indians first come to USA, they live in a condominium. And they are not contented because some of their friends are in townhouses. And then they live in townhouses, but they are not contented because some of their friends have got houses, full-fledged bungalows. And then they get those bungalows, but they are still not contented because some of their friends have got mansions on Mission Hill. So it goes on and on and on. There is no end to it. And that is why the devotee says, Sai, Malik, itna dijiye, ya mein kutum samaye. Main bhi bhooka na rahu, sadhu na bhooka jaye. If you have a little enough for yourself, a little for charity, be happy, be contented, then you will be dear to God. And aniketa, without attachment to residence. The residence, you will have to give it up one day. Akbar, when he made his capital in Fatehpur Sikri, he put out there a quotation. He thought it is from the Bible, although it is inscribed in Persian. Later on, it's discovered it's not from the Bible. But the quotation is still valid. And the quotation says, this world is a bridge. Cross over it. Build no house on it. So what he's saying is that you build as much as you like. One day you will have to leave it all. Treat this world like a dharmashala. That's what Kripaluji Maharaj says. Jag mein raho aise Govind Radhe Dharmashala mein yatri rahe jo bata de. Dharmashala is the free hotel which charitable people in India open up in holy places. So a traveler comes to the Dharmashala. If you go to Rameshwaram or Puri or Dwarka, Badrikashram, so many dharmshalas. So you go and stay there. Now, do you get upset? The color of the wall should have been different. Let me paint it up. Say, Are Baba, I have to stay here for 2 nights. Just tolerate it and move ahead. So likewise, if you are detached from residence, etc., Sri Krishna says, you are very dear to me. And whose intellect is fixed in me. This fixed intellect will be needed for the journey. One clockmaker, he made a grandfather clock. And he was about to put it in motion when he heard a sigh. Who was that? And he saw the clock is speaking. What is your anxiety, dear clock? The clock said, I was thinking of the millions of tick-tock I'll have to do. 60 tick-tocks in 1 minute, in 60 minutes in 1 hour, in 24 hours in 1 day, tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. The clockmaker said, that is right, just 1 tick-tock at a time. So the clock agreed, he started it, and it started doing tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. So many people begin the journey, and so few sustain themselves. And why? Because that firm resolve is missing. So the firm resolve is what will get you past, not fancy things, just the inner grit, the doggedness to continue. Sri Krishna says, such devotees will be dear to me. Last verse. Ye tu dharmyamritamidam
ये तु धर्म्यामृतमिदम्
yathoktam paryupasate
यथोक्तं पर्युपासते
shraddhana mat parama
श्रद्धाना मत्परमा
bhaktaste tiva me priyah.
भक्तास्तेतीव मे प्रियः.
Translation. Those who honor this nectar of wisdom declared here have faith in me and are devoted and intent on me as the supreme goal. They are extremely dear to me. So he now concludes the topic. He started the topic by saying, my devotees are very dear. Then he showed the whole scenario about devotion and the qualities of devotees. And now he summarizes. This is Sri Krishna's style, which he uses again and again and again. He says a few things, then he summarizes. So again he is now summarizing that if you have faith, if you value the nectar of wisdom I have given, and if you engage in devotion, then you will be very dear to me. Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagwan ki